Thank you.
Animals in Laboratories. Thank you for watching, guys.
The science is clear. Animal experiments are unreliable and hinder scientific progress. Despite this, every 8 seconds an animal suffers and dies in a British laboratory. Nearly 4 million every year in unethical experiments that belong in the past. Until the regulations change, animals will continue to be burnt, blinded, scalded, poisoned, mutilated, starved, and products forced down their throats through tubes so that everyday products can be called safe. Repeal of Section 24 would provide the opportunity to review animal experiments and propose modern non-animal methods to replace them, saving the lives of animals. We await, however, now 5 years on, the results of a public consultation on the government review of the secrecy clause, for which removal of Section 24 had been an option. Information that we do now have access to are non-technical summaries which animal researchers submit to the Home Office with their licence application. Unsurprisingly, they fail to provide the information required, as our extensive analysis of these summaries show. We challenge what science had been submitted to show that a new HIV vaccine, which was tested in monkeys, could be effective in humans. Such evidence was not provided, the applicant either unaware or failing to highlight a review which shows how more than 85 new vaccines that had been tested in animals, including primates, were ineffective in humans. Drug disasters has shown the harm that animal experiments can cause people too. Just days after being given the trial drug Beer 102474, 6 male volunteers were hospitalised. 4 displayed neurological symptoms and 1 volunteer died a week later. The science is clear. Animal experiments are unreliable and hinder scientific progress. Despite this, every 8 seconds an animal suffers and dies in a British laboratory. Nearly 4 million every year in unethical experiments that belong in the past. These include thousands of animals experimented on at the Ministry of Defence Research Laboratory, Porton Down, and a new chemical weapons defence centre at the public funded facility could see further suffering. We must stop these experiments before they start, and the NAVS and our supporters are calling on the government to use human relevant methods instead. Please join us. In recent experiments which were conducted at Porton Down, mustard gas was pumped down the throats of anaesthetised pigs and into their lungs. 3 animals died before the end of the experiment, 2 from suffocation after the tube in their throat became obstructive with mucus and tissue. The remaining animals, still under anaesthetic, were killed after exposure. The effects of mustard gas have already been tested using human lung cells, the model for which can be used to understand the development of disease caused by exposure to this gas. Also, mice were forced to inhale the Western equine encephalitis virus, while physically restrained in tubes, a number of animals dying as a result. Due to the severity of their symptoms, which included shallow breathing, seizures, tremors, and an inability to move, even to reach their food. Others were killed by researchers over a period of 2 weeks. To bring an end to animal testing, we must fight against the unspeakable suffering of animals in laboratories with science. Our challenge is to stop experiments on animals before they start and to secure the adoption of non-animal methods in tests which still demand the use of animals.
Bullshit! The Animal Liberation Front, the FBI were to do a profile or a piece of approval, is each and every one, there's no him or the rest of it. That's nonsense. The World Day demo was one massive illegal conspiracy. And people talk about networking with social media now. Bollocks, I say. We used to be able to network and get 10,000 people in a race, daytime race, where we could get 2 to 300 people playing on, all arriving at the same time. When we used to come to World Day, we'd have a, say like,
in Great Britain, 2,440 primates were used for the first time in experiments. That's about 47 a week, roughly 7 a day, and if you count a working day as being 8 hours, 1 primate an hour. So what exactly is happening every hour of every working day of every week to these beautiful, intelligent and sensitive animals? One use of primates which Animal Aid has recently highlighted is the use of monkeys to try to cure Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a terrible disease which affects humans, but the way in which this disease is studied in monkeys is truly horrifying. We recently highlighted experiments conducted in London where 12 monkeys were injected with a brain-damaging chemical which is called MPTP. This causes symptoms of paralysis, a lack of coordination, seizures and a hunched posture. The monkeys were force-fed a drug after being given MPTP for up to 28 days. This is a drug which has been used for decades in human patients with Parkinson's. The drug causes uncontrollable body spasms, writhing and a twisted body posture. These horrible effects are well known from previous similar experiments in monkeys. Over the course of the experiments, the monkeys were force-fed various drugs, observed for stretches of 10 hours at a time. And during this 10-hour period, they had blood samples taken from a vein in their thigh every 30 minutes. PTP causes severe immobilization, so hand feeding would be absolutely essential for these severely disabled animals because they just could not feed themselves. But the animals only need these adaptations because of what's been done to them, because they've been poisoned. The terrible state these monkeys are left in by being given the chemical MPTP is chilling. For any animal to be so disabled by a chemical that it's unable to eat or drink by themselves and needs to be bathed is truly horrific. These animals are intelligent and are usually capable of running, jumping and grooming themselves and others. The inability to do these things shows how terrible MPTP is for both the physical and mental well-being of these animals. Using primates has confused human disease research because the data conflicts. It's not surprising, they're different creatures. It's failed to deliver treatments for Parkinson's and other major diseases. Monkeys don't get Parkinson's, and the symptoms induced in them by brain poisoning fail to replicate key features of the disease in humans. Animal Aid is not alone in its condemnation of primates being used to model human-specific diseases. Dr. Marius Maxwell, who's an Oxford, Cambridge and Harvard-trained neurosurgeon, strongly criticised the use of primates on scientific grounds. He said, "It's widely acknowledged that profound disparities, anatomical, physiological, neurochemical, pathological and temporal, exist between the MPTP non-human primate model and humans with Parkinson's. Despite these paramount concerns of reproducibility, hundreds of studies involving thousands of animals have followed, with conflicting and non-predictive results." The executive director of the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, which is a large charity in the US, said, "Mice don't get Parkinson's, nor for that matter do monkeys, yet these are the organisms on which tests are done before new drugs are tested in people. What this means is that just because something works in a mouse or a monkey, it doesn't mean that it will work in a human." Marius Maxwell also said, "It's clear to anyone who cares to study the matter closely, honestly, objectively, that the scientific justification for non-human primate vivisection is unsound. I cannot accept that its practitioners really believe it to be morally or ethically defensible either. The argument that supports non-human primate experimentation because of close kinship to humans, but blind to their moral worth, denies them ethical rights, is sinister and repugnant."
I'd like to start with a brief explanation of why I haven't been around for the last 10 years. In 2007, at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, my front doors were smashed in by the police. I've been involved in a very controversial and hard-hitting campaign against the building of an animal research facility at Oxford University. And as a result of that, I was to spend 10 years in prison and on licence, and during that time I was not allowed to speak to any of my friends, including people like John, who you heard from earlier, and many, many other people who I campaigned with for many, many years. And it was because we had had the temerity to speak out against vivisection at the largest and most prestigious academic institution in this country and possibly the world, Oxford University. Now let me get this off my chest for a start. I'm very, very, very angry at what they did to me, but I'm far more angry about what they've done to the thousands and thousands and millions of animals that are suffering in academic institutions, contract testing laboratories and other places in this country every single day. Their suffering outweighs mine every single minute of every single day. Now I've got a few things here to say that I want to get out of the way first before I go on to anything else. I entitled my talk Monkeys, Rats and Why I Won't Turn My Back on Laboratory Animals. And some of you may remember that in 2006 BBC Two made a documentary entitled Monkeys, Rats and Me, and I was the object of that film and the campaign to stop the Oxford Animal Lab. And one of the things I remember is that halfway through the film they brought in a new director, and it turned out that that director was an apologist for vivisection. And what followed was a complete and utter damnation of not just me personally, but the whole campaign and the whole anti-vivisection movement. And it was orchestrated at government level. I can tell you why I know that. And this is how far it goes. During 2000, from 2005, the contractors of the Oxford Animal Lab pulled out and the building work stopped. In effect, we would won. There was a part-built laboratory that was going to house, that does house, thousands of animals now. And we had stopped it. We had stopped that building. And I was immensely proud of what we'd achieved. But it was the start of something very sinister. Monkeys, Rats and Me was part of a programme and part of a government initiative to stop us from ending unscientific research in this country. Speak never claimed to be anti-science, we never claimed to be anti-human or anti-progress. What we were anti is the torturing of innocent animals. I was told at this point, in about 2005, from an inside source at the university, that Tony Blair had arrived at Oxford. And he was there to meet contractors, security staff and others to decide the best way forward in getting the Oxford Lab built and making sure that vivisection could continue there. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And within a few months of that, contractors returned to the site after 18 months. And I'll tell you now, never in this country have I seen this before, and never again do I hope to see it again. But workers wearing balaclavas put that lab up. They were hidden away like terrorists, the terrorists we were supposed to be. These workers hid their faces from us while they put that animal torture centre up. And that was at the behest of a government, a new Labour government, the Prime Minister Tony Blair personally involved. Lord Sainsbury, who donated heavily to New Labour, also made sure that that laboratory got built. Now I say, and I say this very clearly, I'm very proud of what we did there and what we tried to achieve and what we almost did succeed in doing. And I'm proud of the people in the animal rights movement that have stood up for many, many decades, fighting to release animals from the tyranny of human beings. And this is not an anti-science thing. This is about respect and rights. Animals deserve rights. That's why we've got an animal rights movement. Nothing else we do. I want rights for animals. I don't want to be told by anyone, any government minister or any apologist for the vivisection industry that this is necessary. It is not necessary. This is the 21st century. There are scientists out there and people with the technological know-how to put this shameful period in our history to bed once and for all. But we can't do it, and they can't do it without us. We all need to be active, all the time. It's no good just being a keyboard warrior. It's no good just sitting at home, sitting there on your computer. That's not enough. You've got to get out there. You've got to fight for these animals, and you've got to do it like you mean it. Oxford University released their figures for 2017. And it's over 269,000 animals that suffered there in 2017. It's an 18,000 increase on the year before. This is not acceptable. This is just not acceptable. And we should be demanding, we should be saying, we should be demonstrating, we should be fighting to show that this is not acceptable. All of us, all the time. And I know that we have a movement now, a new emergent young movement that is based around veganism and is based around the idea that animals do deserve respect. And I support this movement. I support the new vegan movement. But it's not enough. It's not enough on its own. It will never be enough on its own. Because let me tell you, there are people in the Home Office and in the government that don't give a shit what happens to these animals. They don't give a shit. And they prove that with us. So what are you going to do with these people? What are we going to do? Just say, well, okay, you know, we'll keep promoting our vegan lifestyle. Good. You should all be doing that. We should all be doing that. But believe me, there are some hard-nosed bastards out there who don't care. Who just don't care. And they exist in the government. And we came up against them. I went to prison because of them. And I'm not ashamed of that. I can look all you in the eye and say, I am not ashamed of the fact I went to prison for animals. I am not ashamed. And to those people who put me there and who put other people there, like John who heard earlier, like many of the people that I call my friends and my campers, those people I wasn't allowed to talk to for so long because of my life conditions, so I couldn't. And here's an example of how far it went. You see this t-shirt? A few months ago, before my licence conditions ended, I was in Northampton, where I live, and I got stopped on the street by a guy who was wearing one of these, a Speak t-shirt. This guy had never been on a demo against Oxford University in his life. Never! He brought it off the internet. The next time I turned up for my probation interview and my licence conditions, I was threatened with rearrest and sent back to prison. And why? Because a police officer had seen me talking to someone with a Speak t-shirt on. Now why is that? Why is that? Why are you so afraid of people talking to each other about vivisection, about what happens to animals, about slaughterhouses, about horse racing, about whatever it is? Why are you so bloody afraid? I know why you're afraid. You know why they're afraid. They're afraid because we're right and they are bloody wrong. During the 1980s and 1990s and the early 2000s, this animal liberation movement, the one that I feel so proud to be part of, we had them on the run. We had them beat. And if it hadn't been for the government, if it hadn't been for the police and other agencies, then Oxford Land wouldn't be open. HLS would have been shut down. And we would have been looking at a new future where science did work and research that benefited human beings and not just the pharmaceutical industry. But they weren't going to let that happen. They weren't going to countenance that because the money was in animal research. As much as it is in meat eating, the slaughterhouse industry, the horse racing industry, come what may. Abusing animals is profitable. And that's all some of these people care about. And that's why it's important to think about what you are, who you are, and why you're here. You're animal rights people. You're not apologists for the welfare industry. You're not apologists for the vivisectionists. You're not apologists for the slaughterhouse worker. You're animal rights people. You believe animals deserve rights. That's what makes you powerful. And don't be put off by what happened to people like me and John and others in the past. We didn't do it out of any sense of self and neither did anybody else. We did it as part of a movement. I'm part of you, you're part of me. We do it together. Back here now amongst you, and I'm proud to be back amongst you because you're the people that make the difference, and I'm proud to be part of this movement and part of what you all are. So, in finishing, I want to say this: monkeys, rats and me, and why I won't turn my back on laboratory animals. None of us here, not one single one of you, must ever turn your backs. I know you won't, but you mustn't. Don't be afraid to speak out. Don't be afraid to stand up. Don't be afraid to challenge the law. The law, with regard to animals, is wrong, utterly wrong. Animals deserve rights. They can have rights. And I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say about that. They are wrong. They are completely wrong. We are the movement, and we are the people, the individuals and collectively the movement that are going to change things for the future. We are going to change the world. 40 years on, I still believe that. And you know what? If I live to another 40 years, I'll still believe it. But one thing I hope I live long enough for, and it's been a dream of mine, that one day I'll go into a courtroom and in the dock will be a vivisector. And he'll be she will be charged with torturing animals. And I dream about this, standing there and watching them being led down to the cells like I was, and being charged with destroying sentient life for no good reason. So please, please, don't be afraid. Please, please, never ever turn your backs. I know you won't. I'll always be with you. I'll always be there. We'll always be there. Together, together, we will achieve this. Please, never ever turn your backs. Thank you very much.
John Curtin has been involved with the animal liberation movement for years. He has made an immense impact with all of his work, including animal rescue work at sanctuaries and general campaigning over the years. Give it up for John, everybody.
There would not be an anti-vivisection movement in this country and in this world unless there'd been an animal liberation front. It was the animal liberation front that bust down the doors of the laboratories. And we're going through a revolution. If you would have asked me 30 years ago, if I'd have had a dream 30 years ago about how vegetarianism would be a progressive, massive force, I wouldn't have dared to think it's getting as good as what it's going. And that it didn't happen by us just demonstrating. So respect to all the people that have broken the law and have gone to prison in the past, but that is our past. Where we are going is a different thing. To me, it appears like the future is going to be very different. The future may be poetry, art, whatever. I don't care if it's the animal liberation front. As long as people keep taking the odd chicken and dog out of the back, God, and I'll be happy. So the future's in. I'm a bit burnt out and broken and all the rest of it. You're the new people in the movement. Take it forward. Don't fantasise about raiding laboratories if it's not possible anymore. But use that inspiration, use that energy, and commit and get involved. And you're heroes for coming here today. Thank you for not just clicking on the computer.